what is it that you, as a newly minted treasurer, are responsible for? What's your role? You're probably wondering what are all the things that you need to be taking care of. So we're going to go over a lot of those, and there's a lot. Don't get scared away, though. It's all okay, but here we go. So the first thing that you are responsible for is the budget. That's the first thing you should probably tackle as the new treasurer. Now, your predecessor or the prior board may have already created a budget, in which case you just need to get it approved by your board. They may not have, in which case you're going to need to develop a budget, work with your board, and approve that once you guys are all in agreement as to how the financial year is going to look moving forward. Secondly, you get to deal with all the banking, and that means all your bank accounts. That means merchant service accounts. So merchant service accounts are things like PayPal, Stripe, Square, Venmo, Zelle, all those kinds of things. The first thing I would recommend is getting your signers up to date at your bank. And first of all, maybe make sure that you're using the right bank for your group. Banks are not all created equal. So you might make sure that the bank that you're using meets your needs. So do they have a night deposit drop if that's important to you? Do they have accounts with no fees? Do they have online access to all of your accounts? Things like that. Make sure that you're using a bank that works for you. And then once you do that, if it's the bank you're already using, make sure your signers are all up to date. So this can feel a little tedious, but it's super, super important. So usually it requires updating your meeting minutes, and those meeting minutes need to declare the change of officers. Some banks require that all of your officers are present at the same time. Sometimes some banks require that your outgoing and your incoming officers are all present at the same time. Call ahead and see what your bank requires so that you don't get there and get disappointed. Most of the time you have to have valid ID. So just be prepared for that changeover, but that's a really important one. You'll also want to make sure that if you do have, say, PayPal accounts or Square accounts, that you can get access to those online. So any kind of passwords and credentials you need for online accounts, you're going to want to get from your predecessor. Next, you're going to need to set up some systems. So this is going to include a lot of things like forms, procedures, how folks get reimbursed. That's up to you. You're going to want to figure out what system you're going to use to track all of your money. So hopefully it's something like MoneyMinder. You might want to set up some reminders when things are due, like your insurance policy, when that renews and when you need to pay for the premium. You might also set up reminders for your 990 if you have to submit one of those to the IRS. Things like that will make it a little easier down the road because there's a lot of things to remember. You might want to consider whether or not you're going to have petty cash or a cash box available, especially at events. A lot of groups need that to make change. You're going to need to figure out the procedures, how to track that. And you want to protect those funds. Next, you're going to want to figure out your daily operations. So I talked about a daily operations binder earlier. That's where you store a lot of your documentation, but you're going to have to figure out, like, how do you pay bills? Do you pay them using bill pay out of your bank? Do you pay them writing a check? How do you reimburse people? You're going to want to make sure that you're tracking against budget, and you're going to need to be able to report and talk to your board members when you're maybe off budget. You're going to need to keep a paper trail of pretty much everything. So figure out what those day-to-day operations look like and how you're going to track all of that. Next, you're going to be responsible for events and collecting money at events. So you're going to want to have some controls in place because cash is a tough thing to manage. You're going to want some oversight there so that people don't abscond with cash that belongs to your group. So put controls in place. You're going to need to be responsible for getting it deposited. I highly recommend having a bank that has a night deposit, so that after an event, after everybody's counted it, you can just take it to the bank and put it in a night deposit. Don't take it home. Don't leave it in your car. Um, just it's a lot to be responsible for that overnight or even for a few days. Just get it out of your hands as soon as possible so that there's no room for anything to happen. Taxes. You get to make sure that all your filings are up to date if you do have to report to the IRS. That's your job. Licensing. So, what kind of licenses does your group need? You're going to need to make sure that that's all in place. So, it might be just things like charitable solicitations licenses. Every state's different. Your annual state license that you file with the Secretary of State. You might have movie license that you need. You might have a gaming license. You might have sales and use license or tax exemptions. All of those things you're going to have to figure out whether or not you're responsible to file or to have that updated. Look into that. Insurance. I talked about that a little earlier. You need to make sure that you have adequate coverage and that it's up to date. And so talk to somebody in the insurance industry to make sure that you're covered in case of an issue. It happens. Your bylaws will often have some guidelines, so read through those and see what they offer. At the very least, they'll tell you when your financial year starts and when it ends. And that's really important to know so that you're keeping books according to that, because that's what people are, specifically the IRS, is going to be requesting that you report during that period of time. Near the end of the term, you're going to file an annual review, and MoneyMinder can help you get that really easily. But you'll also get everything in order for your annual audit. Hopefully you'll do an annual audit regardless of what kind of group you are. Oftentimes that annual audit is called an annual financial review now. So you'll get everything together for that and organized and passed on to the committee that's going to be conducting that. You will not be part of that committee. It's a third-party audit. That's a lot, isn't it? Don't worry, it gets easier. The first month or so is a little bit trying. There's a lot to wrap your brain around, but it gets a lot easier. So don't sweat it, okay? I'm going to be talking in more detail about a lot of these things in this series, so stay tuned and look for those episodes so that you can have a better understanding of what it is that I'm talking about. But that was an overview, okay? Just an overview. So let's dive a little deeper. Are you looking for more help yet? I suggest checking out moneyminder.com/resources. You're going to find all sorts of tools and tips and checklists and forms and guides and anything you could possibly need to be a rock star treasurer.